buddy, we are starting a series. We are going through the book As A Man Thinketh by James Allen. Now, this book, it was written way back, and I believe, I'm going to get this wrong, so don't quote me on this. It was written either or published in 1902 or 1906. So this book is about 120 years old, but it's amazing. If you're really into manifesting, law of attraction, law of assumption by Neville Goddard, or even overall success, we're going to dive into this book. And this is a very, very short little book. We're going to break it down chapter by chapter. Now, I'm reading the chapters to you, but I'm also discussing them. So this isn't just an audio of the book. We're going over each chapter and we're discussing it, kind of pulling out the meat and potatoes. And when I say meat and potatoes, really with old school prosperity teachers like James Allen here, it's really hard to pull out meat and potatoes, because this is why I love old school books, is because there's no fluff. I mean, that, like I said, the chapters are only, every single chapter is only like a page and a half to 2 pages. And so there's no fluff. He really just dives right into it. And this is also a blessing, but it's also kind of hard because he dives right into it, gives no fluff. But it can be hard to give my interpretation as well, just because he's not giving so many examples on what he means. But it is good to kind of have a different interpretation. I mean, both ways here. It is good to kind of hear, a different prosperity teacher's opinion about stuff, seeing how they explain things. Then also I'm giving my interpretation of the chapter and the paragraphs and stuff like that. Because lots of times we need to hear this stuff over and over and over. Okay, until we have a aha moment. Until it's like, oh, I finally get it. And I don't mean you get it conceptually. Okay, you finally get it at a deeper level. You finally just get it, like at a deeper sense. Because a lot of this stuff, like with anything on manifesting, it's easy to talk about. Okay, it's easy conceptually to kind of talk about and debate, but people aren't getting results. I mean, that's the bottom line. If you're not getting results, you're not getting results that you really want, you're not living the life you really want, well, there's something wrong. There's something you're doing, okay? It's not the manifesting technique. It's not the Neville Goddard technique, okay? It's not Thomas Troward. It's not Napoleon Hill, okay? It's you. And the reason why it's you and the reason why it's me is because all of us have really deep embedded beliefs in us that we had since a kid, and we're living by those beliefs as an adult. And those beliefs are either kind of moving us forward or they're moving us backwards. And when they're moving us backwards, that's when manifesting isn't working. I mean, nothing seems to be working for us. I mean, or it's working against us, meaning that it's really super. And think about this for a second, and we're going to dive into this chapter 1 here. But think about this: isn't it amazing how it's super easy to manifest things you don't want? It's super easy to manifest negativity. It's super easy to manifest roadblocks, because we give such natural energy to it. We give such natural emotion to it. We pay attention to it, okay? Versus, actually manifesting my dream car, my dream house, a dream salary, a dream career, a dream charity, a dream lifestyle. Okay, and this is what we're going to dive into. And James Allen does a terrific job in this book. It's very, very short, and we're going to do separate videos on each chapter here. So lo and behold, let's get rocking. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Right before we hit chapter 1, mind is the master power that molds and makes. The man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought, and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass. And I think we've all heard this poem, or maybe some sort of this poem before. And let me change the color here for us. I love this right here. At the very end, he says, he thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. And this is why I always say, this is why, really just coming right off the board here, not even getting into chapter 1, is that this is why we can't manifest. We're really manifesting our secret self. We're really manifesting our secret thoughts. Okay, we all do this. We all have secret thoughts that we don't tell people. Okay, that we just fester on. Okay, and we don't tell family, we don't tell our significant other. It's just kind of what boils in our mind, or kind of our secret self. And listen, he thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is about our looking glass. He thinks in secret. You think in secret, and it comes to pass. What does that mean? What you think in secret actually manifests into your life. But one more thing here, I want to point out, it was brought up in this poem, that way I don't have to bring it up in every single chapter. And let me read it one more time. Mind is a master power that molds and makes. And man is mind. This is what I want to talk about right here. Man is mind. Not so much man is mind. Since this is an old school prosperity book, this was written in very, very, very early 1900s, either 1902, 1906, something like that. And it was published then, okay? It's very old school writing. So you're going to hear the word man. Okay, now when he says man, he means every single person. It's kind of a conglomerate word that they used back then. They always used man. They didn't really separate man, woman. They didn't talk gender neutral like we do today. So they use man. So don't get your feathers all in the uproar a little bit. You don't mean anything by it. So when you hear man, it means everybody. Okay, it could be gender neutral. It could be man, woman, they, them. So he's talking about everybody. He's including everybody. He's not specifically only meaning men. So I like to kind of point that out. Chapter 1, thought and character. Now this chapter is about 2 pages, but it's really, there's no fluff whatsoever. And how I kind of break down the chapters, you will see kind of color codes here. Green is something very, very, very important. And usually purple is an example he's giving inside the chapter. Yellow is just it's important, but it's not extremely important. I will highlight as we go. But other than that, let's get rocking. The aphorism, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. This is a whole concept here of this chapter. As a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. Okay, meaning again, when we read that poem, the secret thoughts, the secret you. That's what he means. When you thinketh in your heart, I mean it's a secret you. The secret you is manifesting. Remember, with all manifesting comes from within out. Manifesting isn't from the outside in. Okay, if you believe it's coming from the outside in, you believe your visible world is what's manifesting to you. It's from the inside out. It's our deep-rooted beliefs, but it's also our secret thoughts that we have. Because lots of times what happens it's our secret thoughts that are repetitive in our mind. Okay, no matter what we do, we have repetitive thoughts over and over and over and over. And that's what's actually coming visible in our life. So, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. Not only embraces the whole of a man's being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of his life. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. Now, this is what I mean, because he talks about, again, man. Just to bring this up one more time, when he means man, he means everybody. That's a term they used way back then. This book's 120 years old, so don't let this offend you. It means everybody. He's using man in a sense of a conglomerate term. Male, female, they, them. Gender neutral. That's just how they wrote back then. But I didn't want to do a general neutral version, because once I do a general neutral version, it's usually it's not the authentic version. I mean, somebody came in and rewrote it a little bit and put in their own interpretation. That's why I didn't want to do a different interpretation. I wanted the original, so we can go through the original, how the author is writing, how the author is thinking. So, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. Not only embraces the whole of a man's being. Listen to this. As you think, your secret thoughts embraces your whole being, but it is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of your life. And it runs so deep. So every circumstance, everything going on in your life all stems back to how you think. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. As the plant springs from and could not be without the seed, so every act of man springs from the hidden seeds of thought. Listen to this. The hidden seeds of thought. Meaning he's still talking about the secret you. Your secret thoughts, what you don't tell anybody. Your hidden seeds of thought, and could not have appeared without them. This implies equally to those acts called spontaneous and unpremeditated as to those which are deliberately executed. So now he's giving like a little tiny example. He's saying like a plant springs from and could not be without the seed. So when you plant a seed, the plant comes from the seed. So he's giving that example. So he said, so every act of man springs from the hidden seeds of thought. So his hidden thoughts, your secret thoughts, is what's kind of manifesting to you. Act is the blossom of thought, and joy and suffering are its fruits. Thus does a man garner in the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry. Now, also kind of to bring up, if you're kind of new to like old school writing, he's going to use words, and sometimes I'm going to stumble over things just because of course they're not writing how we write today in 2024, or even since we've been alive. This is basically over a century ago how this was written. Then he gives us a poem. Now this is an example, but it's more of a poem. Thought in the mind has made us. What we are by thought was wrought and built. If a man's mind has evil thoughts, pain comes on him as comes the wheel the ox behind. If one endure impurity of thought, joy follows him as his own shadow sure. Now this was a little bit of a hard read, okay, because again it's very old English. But what he's doing here is basically explaining the general laws of the universe. Now I did do a Working with the Law by Raymond Hollowell, and we actually went through this book, and you can see this book as well. We went through every single chapter, and this chapter, Working with the Law, goes through almost every universal law that's really important with manifesting. So what he's really talking about here is universal law. Basically the law of thinking. Remember, any universal law don't discriminate. It is what it is, okay? There's always an opposite to the law. What I mean by that, if there's a cold, there has to be a hot. If there's a positive, has to be a negative, okay? And with the law, like attracts like. That's law. So that's what he's saying. If you have evil thoughts, pain comes on you. Okay, so you're going to attract evil. If you have negative thoughts, negative comes upon you. But if you have purity of thought, if you have good thoughts, good has to come to you. That's by law. Man is a growth by law. So now he's kind of going into the laws of the universe here. Man is a growth by law, and not a creation by artifice, and cause and effect is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as in the world of visible and material things. I love that. He kind of brings up an interesting thought with cause and effect. Because he's starting to dive into a little bit of the universal laws here, laws of the universe. And he's saying, a man's growth is by law. How you're manifesting is how well you're able to use the laws of the universe and understand the laws of the universe and really understand that the laws don't discriminate. Okay, they're absolute. Okay, that's what he's saying. And here he's saying they're absolute. They're undeviating. Okay, they don't change. You can't change the laws to work for you. Okay, you can't manipulate the laws to work for you. The universal laws is as is. Okay, same way with our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind can't dictate between what's reality and what's not reality. Okay, your subconscious mind just gives you what is. Do you understand that? It gives you what is. What it means by that, if you think good thoughts, it's going to give you good thoughts. If you think negative, it's going to give you negative. Bottom line. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're a good person or a bad person. Okay, the universal laws don't play favorites. Your subconscious mind doesn't play favorites. It's just giving you what your secret thoughts are. what the real you is. That's what it's giving you. Now, sometimes you might like it and dislike it, but that's the actual truth. We're down here. A noble and godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance, but it is the natural result of continued effort in the right thinking. So this is what he's saying. A noble and godlike character, okay, if you believe in God, what he's saying is it's not a thing of favor or chance. God isn't giving you favor over another person. God isn't playing favorites, okay? The laws work. The laws are precise. The laws are absolute. You can't manipulate the laws that work for you like you learned in school. You learned in school how you can manipulate your teachers to like you and lie to them and stuff like that. You go to work and get a job, you can manipulate your boss to like you and stuff like that. You can manipulate things, tell little white lies to kind of get what you want. But then that doesn't work when you actually work with the universal law. That doesn't work no more when you go into manifesting. Because now you're trying to manipulate. Now you're trying to tell baby lies, okay? But you can't manipulate law, okay? So a noble godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance, but is the natural result of a continued effort and the right thinking. The effect of long cherished association with godlike thoughts and ignoble and bestial character by the same process is the result of the continued harboring of groveling thoughts. So listen to this. The effect of long cherished association with godlike thoughts. So if you continue effort in the right thinking by law, you have godlike thoughts. What does godlike thoughts mean? Is they're positive, they're pure, they're good. You're looking for good in every situation. Even when you talk to somebody, you're pulling out the good, what you like about the person. You're not pulling out the negative and the bad. You're always pulling out the good. That's what he means by godlike thoughts. But he also says he flips it. Because remember, universal law flips. If there's a positive, there has to be a negative. If there's positive thinking, well, there has to be negative thinking. It's on the same line, okay? And again, it doesn't play favorites. That's why he's saying here, and he says it kind of weird a little bit, even for myself, when I'm reading it, he says it a little bit weird because it's Old English. But then he flips it and he says, by the same process, is the result of the continued harboring of groveling thoughts. What does he mean by groveling thoughts and harboring thoughts? Meaning that we're harboring resentment, we're harboring negativity. This is our secret thoughts. Our secret negative thoughts are going to do the same thing. Like attracts like. If I'm doing the right thinking and positive thinking, well, positive has to come to me. But at the same time, if I'm harboring resentment, harboring negativity, that's going to come to me as well. And it's going to come to me just as easy as me thinking positive. Man is made or unmade by himself. Listen to this. You, myself, is made or unmade by ourselves. In the armory of thought, he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. Listen, this is so powerful. In the armory of thought, we forge the weapons which destroys ourselves. He also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. By the right choice and the true application of thought, man ascends to the divine perfection. By the abuse and the wrong application of thought, now he's doing the opposite. Okay, now he's doing the opposite down here. He's playing devil's advocate, but he's also, I want you to pay attention here. You're on the same line. Okay, that's what he's doing. You got positive thought, but the law works opposite. You also has a negative. It's on the same line. Okay, same way there's a hot and a cold. There's an up and a down. Okay, there's always an opposite to the law. So what he's trying to communicate here is that when you think positive, you think godlike thoughts in his language here, thoughts of purity, thoughts of good, and you're pulling out the good in every situation. He's given that example that, it's the armory of thought. It's all of our thoughts, all of the thoughts that we're processing. Sometimes we're verbalizing it. Sometimes it's just our secret thoughts. Sometimes we're just talking to ourselves. And he says, armory of thought, he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. So either our thoughts kind of make us or our thoughts break us. That's what he's saying here. Then he says he also fashioned the tools from which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. Meaning if I think positive, I always think good, it has to come back to me. But then he flips it. Then he says by the right choice and a true application of thought, man ascends to the divine perfection. But from there he flips it. And he says by the abuse and wrong application of thought, when we're thinking negative, we're pulling out the negativity. We're constantly talking about what we don't like about a situation. We're constantly talking about what we don't like about other people. What do you think is going to happen? And he goes on and says, he descends below the level of the beast. Between these two extremes are all grades of character, and the man is their maker and master. Remember, you are the maker and the master of your life. And it's driven by your process of thought. It's driven on how you're thinking. It's driven by, in your 3D world, it's driven by, we all have obstacles that pop up in front of us, sometimes every single day. But it's really our perception of these obstacles. That's why he's saying, man, everybody is their maker and master. But we're talking about thought here. You're the maker and master of your life. Of all the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul which have been restored and brought to light in this age, none is more gladdening or fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this, that man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny. I love that when he says it. He says it kind of perfectly. That man, that you, that me, is the master of our thoughts, the molder of our character, and the maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny. Of our conditions, of our environment, and our destiny. We're the maker of it. We're the master of it. As a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the Lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation and contains within himself that transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself what he wills. Let me turn this on green. I kind of love when he says this right here. This is fantastic. I'm going to read this one more time to you, and we'll kind of talk about this. As for being power, intelligence, and love, and the Lord of his own thoughts, meaning you're the Lord of your own thoughts. What does that mean? You're the master of your thoughts. You're the maker of your thoughts. You're the maker of your destiny. What that means is what you see in your 3D world, no matter if you like it or not, you've made that. And this is really the hard concept, or the hardest concept for people to grasp, or for people to want to really believe. Okay, even for myself, that if my life has been kind of going negative for the last few years, it's hard for me to say, well, I created all this. But this is what he's saying here, is that we're the Lord of our own thoughts. We're the master and maker of our own thoughts. And what does that mean? We're producing our outside world. So what's ever happening in my 3D world, I'm creating it. Okay, it's happening from my horrible thoughts. It's happening from my secret thoughts. Then he says, man holds the key. Listen to this. You hold the key to every situation in your life. You hold the key. You hold the answers. You have all the answers. Okay, this is our subconscious mind. This is our intuition and perception. And then he says, and contains within himself that transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself what he wills. So you're holding a power within you. Everything's within. Remember, that's why I said it's within out. If you don't like your outside world, you like what's going on inside you, you have to look within yourself. So I bet you within yourself, you have resentment, you have negativity. You're looking for the bad. If you look for the bad, you look for the negativity. Maybe you're saying it as a joke, but it's a repetitive joke you always say to yourself. But it's negative. Remember, the subconscious mind doesn't take jokes. It doesn't have humor. It's not a comedian. It just takes it as is. If you're saying something negative, but I'm saying it sarcastically, I'm saying it funny, but it's something that I always say over and over and over and over. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those repetitive things I say, that I say, well, this always happens to me. Every time if I go pick up food, I bet they're going to make a mistake. You know, maybe I say it funny when I'm with people, but my subconscious mind don't think it's funny. This is taking it as is. It's just basically saying, well, that's what Chad wants. I'm going to give Chad this. Chad's saying this, I'm going to give it to him. But that's what he always thinks about. So I'm going to give him more of that. Man is always the master. Listen to this. Change the color here. Man is always the master. You are always the master, even in his weaker and most abandoned state. But in his weakness and degradation, he is the foolish master who misgoverns his household. When he begins to reflect upon his condition and to search diligently for the law upon which his being is established. Listen, when he says this, when he begins to reflect, what does that mean? When you begin to reflect, what happens is when you begin to be aware, or lots of times in my videos, I'll talk a lot about awareness. This is really the beginning step. You start being aware of your condition. You start being aware of the environments you're in. You start being aware of your thoughts that you have. You start being aware of what you're saying out loud. You start being aware of how you talk to your friends. If you go to work today and your friends ask you, hey, how's it going? What have you been up to? Really listen to people. Lots of times people will be like, oh, it's going okay. It could be better. Make sense? That's what's actually attracting to you. You kind of have an undertone of resentment, an undertone of negativity. Well, that's kind of what's inside you. Okay, start being aware, because once we're really aware, and this can be a frustrating exercise as well, because sometimes when we're aware of what we're doing, and we don't like it, you know what I mean, and we tend to beat ourselves up over it. Okay, don't beat yourself up. It is what it is. Is that be aware, but once you're aware, the good news is you can fix it, you can change it, you can start adapting. So he says, when he begins to reflect upon his condition and to search diligently for the law upon which his being is established, he then becomes the wise master. Listen, like once you start becoming aware of what you're doing, you start becoming a wise master. You start becoming a master or maker of your thoughts, directing his energies with intelligence and fashioning his thoughts in fruitful issues. Such is the conscious master, and the man can only thus become by discovering within himself the laws of thought, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self-analysis, and experience. And this is kind of what we've been talking about in this chapter here, and especially when I brought up the word awareness, being aware. And he says it at the very end, which discovery, meaning what he's saying is like once you're aware, once you start discovering what you're doing, and you start really paying attention to your thoughts, the secret thoughts, what you're saying out loud, what you're really thinking. Okay, once you start being aware, you start discovering what you're doing. And then he says, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self-analysis. Self-analysis is you're analyzing yourself. It's being aware of what you're doing, and experience. Only by much searching, only by much searching and mining are the gold and diamonds obtained, and man can find every truth connected with his being. Listen, man can find every truth connected to his being. You can find every truth. Any answer you're searching for is within you. That's the great power of subconscious mind. Now, I was watching a good series on the subconscious mind maybe a week ago, last week, and I forget what the series was called. They were really doing amazing experiments with the subconscious mind. And like one of them was basically they could teach kids, they would put blindfolds on kids, and really like high-tech blindfolds where you can't see through them, you can't look down or peek through, and they could actually train them to read being blindfolded. They could pick up any book and actually start reading it and not seeing it with their eyes. And at first you think it's fake, but then, then they do example after example, and it's like, dude, these kids have, there's no way they're peeking because they have like really expensive blindfolds on. But the power of our subconscious mind, they said, like when I was watching, is that our subconscious mind has all the answers. Our subconscious mind has all the answers that we're searching for, all the answers that we want to know, all the answers that we're asking is within ourselves, our subconscious mind. But it's our conscious mind, it's our thinking mind, our analytical mind that shuts it off. Our thinking mind, our conscious mind, pretty much don't know the answers. That's why we seek for answers outside of ourselves. We ask our friends, we ask our bosses at work, we ask our coaches and mentors. Most of the time we're going to our friends that have the same life that we do or a little bit worse off, and we're trying to take their advice. But in reality, the truth is all truth is connected within ourselves. Okay, we just have to develop our intuition, develop our perception, and really our confidence in believing in ourselves. But the answers are always within us. And that's what he's saying. And every man can find every truth connected within his being. If he will dig deep into the mind of his soul, and that he is the maker of his character, the molder of his life, and the builder of his destiny, he may unerringly prove, if he will watch, control, and alter his thoughts, tracing their effects upon himself, upon others, and upon his life and circumstances, linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation, and utilizing his every experience, even to the most trivial everyday occurrence, as a means of obtaining that knowledge of himself, which is understanding, wisdom, power. And this direction, as in no other, is the law absolute, that he that seeks finds, and to him that knocks it shall be opened. For only by patience, practice, and ceaseless opportunity can a man enter the door of the temple of knowledge. And right then and there, that was so powerful. This is the end of chapter 1. But when I went off about right here, and I didn't really stop, because once I started going, he wrote this so powerful to wrap up this chapter. I'm going to read it one more time for you, and then we're going to wrap up this chapter, because I thought it was just so powerful what he said, and I think we need to hear this again. And even for myself, and I've been doing this stuff for a long time, for decades, and even for myself, I'm always at a different place when I go through these books. I always pull out something when I read these books, and that should be what you're trying to do as well. No matter if you read this book one time, you never read a book, you read it 10 times, 50 times, 100 times, you're getting something out of it because you're in a different place every time you read it. So I'll read it to you one more time. And man can find every truth connected to his being. If he will dig deep into the mind of his soul, if you will go deep, you'll find that you have all the answers within yourself. And that he is the maker of his character. You're the maker and the master of your character. You're the molder of your life and the builder of your destiny. He may unerringly prove, and this is to you, you can unerringly prove, if you will watch, control, and alter your thoughts, tracing their effects upon yourself, upon others, and upon your life and circumstances, linking cause and effect. Remember, you're linking cause and effect. You're basically what you're doing when he gets down here, and he's talking about linking cause and effect. What he's talking about is you're being aware. Okay, you're linking cause and effect. You're paying attention. Okay, you're aware of, well, I've been thinking negative for the past couple weeks. Now all these negative things are coming in my life. Why is that? Why is this happening? So that's what he means by linking cause and effect. Cause and effect is, if I think positive, only positive can come to me. Okay, you reap what you sow. That's another way of putting it. If you sow good seed, if you sow good, good has to come back to you. If you sow bad, bad has to come back to you. So you're linking, you're paying attention, you're linking cause and effect. You're seeing what's going on. You're paying attention in your own life. Then he says, linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation. You're being patient. You're practicing. You're taking your time, and you're investigating all your thoughts you have. Voicing them in within yourself, and you're utilizing your every experience, even to the most trivial, everyday occurrence, as a means of attaining that knowledge of yourself, which is understanding, wisdom, and power. In this direction, as in no other, is the law absolute. Now we're right here. The law of absolute. What does that mean? Law of absolute is, it is what it is. You can't manipulate it to work for you. That's the power of any universal law. Every universal law is absolute. If there's a hot, there has to be a cold. You can't manipulate it to work for you. You can't manipulate it that if you're working with hot, I can't manipulate it not to burn me. That's what he's saying. Okay, if I'm playing with fire, I can't manipulate the fire not to burn myself. Okay, and that's another way to put it. And I just thought about that. That I can't manipulate it. If I'm playing with fire outside, I can't manipulate it. I can't just stick my hand in the fire and think, well, it's not going to burn me. Because what do you think is going to happen? It's going to burn me. That's what I mean by manipulating. That's what we do in our daily life. Like once we're aware, we start trying to manipulate things to work for us. We start trying to manipulate people to get what we want. But you can't manipulate universal law. That's what he's saying here. The law is absolute. What's the law that he's referring to? He's referring to, let me highlight it for you. It's right here. He that seeks finds. Listen to this. I mean, this even comes from the Bible and other religions, not just the Bible. He that seeks find, and to him that knocks it shall be opened. They were saying this is a law. This is law absolute. It is what it is. If you seek, you have to find. If you knock, the door has to be open to you. That's by law. And then he continues, for only by practice, patience, and ceaseless importunity. What does he mean by this? For only by patience. You have to be patient to work this law, because you're trying to understand it on a deeper level. At the same time, you're trying to be persistent with it and consistent with it. So you have to be patient, and you have to practice it. Practice it daily in your life. This isn't about you do it for a couple days and you think it don't work and you move on and you never think about it again until a year later. You have to be patient with it. You have to practice it, and you have to have ceaseless importunity. What does that mean? You have to be persistent. No matter what's going on, you have to be persistent with it. And then he says, can you enter the door of the temple of knowledge? That's the end of chapter 1, my friends. Remember, make sure you comment below if you have questions about this, how you're working with it, no matter what it is. If you're trying to figure out more in depth what's going on, if you have a specific question, how it's working for you, comment below. Remember, I love you guys, and I will see you in chapter 2.